You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network.
There's always been this saying that I've heard forever, as long as I can remember. Family is what you make it. I can attest to that specifically and personally because for a very long time, I've always have had this wonderful blessing of attracting and gathering extended family. For those who've ever experienced going off to college, leaving home, moving away from home, and I don't mean like blocks away or on the other side of the city. I mean literally leaving the state, even leaving the country. That statement can stand to be so significant, while others may seem that it could be minute. And I've always felt like to be able to create or have relationships that draw from platonic friendships that expand or expound into becoming more like family is a blessing. And that can come from friendships. It can come from societal connections. It's amazing. So I think it's a good measurement to say that family is more than your DNA. All right, y'all, it's Monday. Let's kind of get to it. It's Sonny's Monday Motivation. Let's go.
No matter the time or the season, we're open and available 24/7. Shouldn't your dealership be too? Carumba.com, the convenient online used vehicle marketplace. Register your independent dealership now.
Okay, guys, it is a beautiful Monday morning in Southern California. Can I tell you that? I know our temperatures are set to go to somewhere near the low 70s or something like that today. But it's already early morning, and the sunshine has greeted me with such a joy. And it's not quite even 60 degrees yet. But when I tell you I am enjoying my coffee, I'm in the midst of sharing my thoughts with you, and today's conversation, as you can tell from the intro, is going to be a little bit interesting. It's a little bit different, setting the pace. But why is it important even on a Monday? And most of you are probably at work, getting ready to work, or coming home from work. Maybe you worked overnight. And I've actually I attended a wedding, New Year's Eve, a wedding anniversary reception. And this couple who are so dear to me spans from a measurement of a combination of interaction. One, over 30 years of classmate, running mate, basketball buddy. So we're talking about elementary, middle school, high school, and my brother cousin Fred would go off to the military after college, and he enlisted into the Navy and left the city of Chicago very young, as well as myself. I would graduate the following year from high school and go off to Florida for my first year of school. And his now wife, who I've gotten the wonderful pleasure of meeting and getting to know, is also a military career. They're both now top rank master chiefs in the Navy with families. You know, they both have raised their children, raising children, and now they've become a blended family. And it was wonderful being in the room and amongst that moment with them. And another one of my childhood classmates and friends was there, flew in from Chicago to support them and also helped to put the arrangements and stuff together for the celebration. And what was bittersweet about it is that they actually got married right in the height of COVID, and things were happening, and their careers and just life intersects. And so they are both in a position to where they've built lives and friendships over the years, where military families and friends and people that they've come to know were the majority in the room. The groom had his son, and the bride also had her children there, and her dad and her brother. But my buddy brother cousin, he had myself. I was there, and a few other people came in from Chicago, and the majority of the people there are maybe distant relatives, but the majority of them classmates, teachers, supervisors, former former employees, people that they may have worked one period, So just prime example, just to have that moment, right? Here we are celebrating, it's probably about 70 of us deep, 60, 70 of us deep in a room. And when I tell you the love that resonated in the space was absolutely amazing. It was all just, you can feel the sincerity in the room. Everybody just feeling joyous. We actually had an opportunity to watch their ceremony, which they had a destination wedding. And we got to watch some of the clips of the actual ceremony during the reception. It was on a projector that was allowed us to take view of that. And so it was just wonderful being a part of their celebration. And for many, many years, that's been the story of my life. I've lived in different states and different countries. And like right now I'm in California. I don't have a lot of family here. So, what ends up happening for most of us who become exploratory, and we move away from our nest, and we go to become and be all that we can be, we discover this aptitude of adaptation, and you learn to maybe become more open to designation of how people are interacting with you. And what's wonderful about it is that people have to choose. People can choose whether or not. I think a lot of times we sometimes fall into these mindsets of entitlement and think because somebody's related to us, whether it's a parent or a sibling or another type of relative, that they have to be a certain kind of way with us, and they have a responsibility to be a certain kind of way with us. But the truth of the matter is they can choose. Just because somebody is blood related does not automatically mean that they're going to accept all of you or engage with you or decide to have a life with you or a friendship or any type of relationship. And that's the real truth. You have some people that are in relationships that don't have the bond that some friendships have, right? So that just goes to show you that, family is far greater than just your molecular makeup and your DNA designation. I will say, what is also incredible about that, just knowing that knowledge of that power, is that it allows you to map out so many wonderful things for yourself. And if you don't believe me, how many times have you heard people say, oh, they got a work wife or a work husband, or oh, that's my play husband, and that's my husband brother, or it's a magnitude of energies that are happening constantly between people. And there's this wonderful thing that happens, this synergy that can take place amongst people, that over time people may develop a level of comfort with one another, a level of trust with one another, and maybe some type of connection to where they feel like this person has the opportunity to hold a position with me that normally would just be occupied by my family. And when I tell you, when you have those kind of experiences, if you ever are blessed to have that kind of connection, that's exactly what it is. It is such a blessing. And it kind of, it can be a measurement in your life that would not be able to be held measurable against other things. Because for someone to love you and to accept you for who you are, all your transgressions, the not so good parts of us that exist in parallel with all of the good things that make us who we are, it's something incredible for people to be able to be accepting of you and be truly connected to you in a way in which they feel that you are considered their family. In so many cultures around the world, there's, so many cultures around the world that family dynamics differ. In the U.S., it's easy for us to call somebody a play cousin, or that's my auntie, or that's like my brother. But in other cultures, it could be a level of disrespect if you if you come up to someone's mother and call them mom, and you never met them, or you haven't established a relationship with them. So sometimes you have to, understand the proper etiquette of how to greet somebody. That does not mean that they can't be acceptive of you, but it also does mean that you also sometimes have to be aware of other people's dynamics and other people's cultures so that things are not misconstrued. Trust me when I tell you, I've always been a person that has been friendly towards people, and I am naturally I'm a hugger. And of course, I smile a lot. This big old loud mouth wouldn't be what it is if I didn't. And because of that, it's easy for me to greet someone and can give them a slight embrace, a handshake, fist bump, whatever. And most times it's the energy of where I probably am, and also maybe the energy I collectively feel from the other party. And the other thing is that, having the ability to be introduced to someone's family or somebody else's space of connection of people that are close to them, it's sometimes a symbolic measurement of where and how they feel about you and what they consider you, how they regard you, right? So in other words, it's a honor for the word family, for the scope of that. For some people, they take it very, very seriously. And, I know that we have all been exposed to television. I'm going to go far deep for a second. Let's look at The Godfather. An Italian family, we're talking about, of course, the mob, things of that nature, is a fictitious story, but it's a story that has resonated in the cinema world over time as one of the most impactful films in history. And it is definitely a depiction of Italian families where there's deep-rooted loyalties and responsibilities to the family. The family extends beyond the structured family of what we call mother, brother, sister. We're talking about mafia families, or these families that have, codes and oaths that stand greater than the blood that's running through their veins. And they're serious about the way those families are presented, how they're projected, how they're approached, the respect levels that have to align with them. All of that has a real truth to it. Even though this is a fictitious story that's being exploited, from a script format, it really is a real snapshot of how, Italian cultures can definitely run deep when it comes to families and their interactions and them handling business and them handling day-to-day life. And so, prime example. So if you are a person that has relationships that have grown from friendships, and I've had clients that I've been friends with for a very long time, and they've have evolved into extended family extensions that have been wonderful. I've also had some that went south and went sour. And most times for me, there's some type of change that has occurred. It could be from me, leveling to another place. It could be from them leveling to another place, or going to the right or going to the left. But at the end of the day, I think it's important that we recognize how we interact with people and how we treat one another, right? So when I thought about this actual topic, I was listening to I've mentioned this before. I've been tuning into Transformation Church, Pastor Michael Todd out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And part of his sermon yesterday, he was talking about dominion, and I remember him mentioning during a part of his sermon about his children, that, you know, he was kind of making a parallel in regards to God imparting things in you, but he's like, no matter what my kids do, they can't remove my DNA from them. You know, once there's a spectacle of something that's connected, that is channeled into the formation of you, then there's this blood connection. There's this molecular, atomic, makeup that designates this person as a child or a parent, right? And so those dynamics start to create, from those level of creations. Isn't that amazing when you think about human life, that we're all of creation? We're all a part of the bigger picture of creation. And if we're here and if we're being given such a dynamic opportunity to exist, there's purpose in that. So how are we interactively connected in dealing with one another? How are we being more, or how can we be all that we can be in those connections? So even today, if you're at work and you've been at your job for some months at a time, there's a familiarity that exists there. You have people that you're working with, whether they're peers or supervisors or bosses or fellow employees that are in a cubicle next to you or over the phone, or however, there's a level of standard of expectation from you as that person to them. Now, it does not mean it has to extend beyond the business at hand, but if it should evolve in a safe and healthy way, there's bonds that could be created that could span a lifetime. I remember my mom having just a selection of friends that, growing up in church, my mother was a musician, played the piano, and had, been minister of music, choir director, you name whatever title you want to give it, pianist. And there was relationships that formed from the choir members. There were relationships with other musicians. There were relationships with other churches that would come to visit. And, that became a part of our week to week. I was also a musician and played the drums for our church. So, we had a church family, right? I very much had a very active church family, from the pastor to the first lady to their children to the usher boards, the mothers of the church, the deacons, the deaconesses, you name it. And guys, I'm not being facetious. And if you come from different denominations, it can go even further and greater, honey. So, but at the core of it, what is it? It's family. It's interaction, it's interrelationships. So, for whatever the reason, I know I shared with you guys last week, I just come back from a death in the family. I went to a funeral, came to Chicago, and handled all of those things with family, and came back and, spoke on some things last week pertaining to that. And, for whatever the reason, the universe had given me another measurement of this dynamic of conversation. And so because I wanted to be obedient, I'm sharing it with you. And I feel like, the society at large, we've had so much trauma, separation, distance, in a way in which we would have, on our own personal levels, would have never really done. Most of us would have never imagined in our lifetime that the world would have shut down at the same time, from something that leveled, mankind, and had us all out here in this mental bondage of just unawareness of what was to come with COVID. And I've noticed since we've come back into our quote unquote new normal, there has been a plethora of deaths, beyond just COVID, COVID related illnesses. But I really feel, and for those of you who may or may not know this, I have a multitude of level of families. I'm gonna talk about this one piece, my comedy family. I've been I've been blessed to just explore all parts of me, and as a comedian and producer, and I owned a comedy club at some point in time in Atlanta. So I've accumulated a comedy family. Even though I'm far and wide, I have not been as consistent as I would like to be, and that's the change. But even saying that does not take away from the fact of the people who I do care about, whether it's from a distance. And I thank God for social media, because this is a lot of ways I keep up with people. But I've noticed this unleveling amount of comedians that have been dying. All ages and ethnicities and genders. It's not a discriminatory thing. Death is not, right? But it just goes without saying that people who make their world be about entertaining other people. I'm part of that dynamic, even in this segment as a radio personality, as a producer. I do this because it is a form of entertainment. It's a form of inspiration, and I pray that it can be empowering for those. But it also is a form of entertainment, which is a part of my company's existence, Loudmouth Marketing and Entertainment Group. That's why it exists, right? But it's been very alarming seeing how many comedians have been dying. And it's always been this old saying that comics are sometimes one of the most depressed people. They have so much that may be going on that you would never know, because they use the level of comedy to navigate the world, right? And it's a lot of times we'll be hiding behind smiles and jokes and characterizations and acting and things of that nature. And we're truly there. Don't let's not remove that. But that's not to say that they, as people would say, that does not mean that they're not feeling something, right? Or going through something. And sometimes people have these stereotype or stigma thoughts about entertainers, and that there's always drug related inducement or something that could be possibilities. Not in all cases, right? But I do know that there's been a high leveling amount of depression and impact of the social distancing that took place with us around the world. And so now that we're getting to a point where we can engage more freely, people are reassociating themselves with social interaction. California, what I love about one of the sectors is that there's still heavily amount of networking that likes to take place here, meaning in-person meetings, social events, social gatherings. There's a bunch of wineries where I am. So naturally, people are always coming together. Maybe they're drinking and, engaging and things of that nature. So to see us getting back to that point of amping that up, and it's still a process. There's still people that won't do a lot of heavy crowds. COVID is still amongst us. It's not, it's not gone. It's something that I think that as we know it as a society, have to get accustomed to it. It was already here, but the mutation of it has become more aware to us as a society. So, with that being said, there's been a significant difference on the way of the human race and how we've been interacting. And it's impacted people so much to the point where I think that we're still starting to see so much of the aftermath of what that shutdown did and has caused us in so many ways. So I think that it's so important that we are more conscious about each other and we're more intentional about each other. So until there's some subjective reason, but I'm just going to say I'm going to be obedient in this space and say that I feel like, these conversations are very important to instill and to give light to, and to say that we definitely need to exercise being more kinder to one another and being more aware of one another. Does not, I'm not telling you to go out and make everybody your cousin or your brother, your sister, your husband. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that, today maybe be a little more conscious of your coworker. You go to work, you're spending probably more time with them at your job than you do with your own family. So today, maybe say hi to somebody you never spoke to. Maybe ask them how they're doing. Check and see how their day is going. Give them something to know about you, and share something about you, and maybe they'll share something about them. And you may find that there may be something else there that could be elevating your day, right? So, guys, I just want to tell you that I am so grateful to be able to share these thoughts and give you these messages of my Monday motivations, right? And I hope that it gives you some leveling of strength and motivation. That's exactly what it's for, right? And I love that, the ability to hear this subjective matter 24/7 on demand is available, because there are times I'll do these shows, guys, just so you know. I don't just push them out and just say, okay, here you go, check it out. I do listen to this. I do listen to these broadcasts even after I've, of course, in production I can't help because I'm listening to the playback. But even after it's completely finished, complete and uploaded, I do listen to the playbacks. And there are times when I feel like, man, there was something more I could have added to that. And I think that is good. And I'm going to share this with you. I'm encouraging you. You can go to loudmouthradio.com and go to our contact page. And if you want to share something, also we're on Facebook at Loudmouth Radio Network. Well, we've been slacking in that space a little bit, I will admit. But we are in the process of really working towards our 10th season presentation of new content, new shows, new guests. That's kind of the aim of what we're doing for this season. And we're just staying consistent and staying with it. I am excited about the new shows that are coming forth and the new content that's coming forth and the new engagement. And I'm going to also put this out there. I want to ask that if you guys who are listening to the show have some things that you think would be interesting to talk about, you can also send that over to me as well. And put in the topic of the subject of the email, Sonny's Monday Motivation. And we can talk about those things. So I want to tell you guys, thank you. Have a wonderful day. It's 70 degrees here. Like I said, in Southern California, wherever you are, I'm sending you some love and light from here. Your weather may be more just as much as a joy as mine. And if it's not, if it's raining, if it's cold, if it's snowed in, if it's foggy, whatever it could be, just take the love and light into the system of your soul, and it can illuminate around you. And I just hope that your day is absolutely amazing, as well as your work week. So you all, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm over and out.
This episode is sponsored by loudmouth.com, the #1 small business online network. We're putting the word out about small business. Put your business on the referral network online that wants to put the word out about you. 30.7 million small businesses in the U.S., creating 1.5 million jobs annually. Small business accounts for 64% of new job creation in the U.S. There's strength in numbers. No matter what we face, know that there's strength in us. Because of you, we're able, we're capable, we're resilient, and we are available because we are small business. And together, we're the economy. You're listening to the Loudmouth Radio Network.